Hi everybody, welcome back to the Bumpkin News. Bumpkin in Chief here. Today is June the 9th, 2011, and as you can see, we're out here in the great outdoors doing a little on-the-spot video for you. We want to talk today about Obamanomics. What is Obamanomics? The very simplest definition of Obamanomics would be the government is the solution to economic problems. The government is the cause of economic growth and economic prosperity rather than a free market. We have abundant examples of the Obama administration putting this philosophy into practice. But first of all, let me give you a little scenario about how a private free market works and how a government-controlled market would work. Let's say you live in a town, and you've probably seen these kind of things happen. You live in a town and there are, say, 4 hardware stores. One of them belongs to you, and you worked very hard to establish this, and you've got a good thriving business. And one of the other hardware stores, the person that operates the store is not a very good businessman or woman, and the things that they begin to stock are not what the customers want, but personal preference. And their service is bad, they don't always come to work on time, the hours begin to get erratic, and as a result, they can't sell enough of their products to pay their expenses of the business, the overhead, taxes, what have you, and so they go out of business. What happens to their customers and to their employees? Well, the other hardware stores in town, the 3 remaining, their customer bases expand because those customers go elsewhere to buy their hardware, and the employees from the hardware store that are well versed in the aspects of that business, they come over to your or my hardware store, and we employ them because they're already experienced and be an asset to our business. So 1 went down and 3 grew. That's the way it is in the forest. You have trees that fall, become decrepit, they fall and they become nutrients for the other plants in the forest. That's the natural progression of things. Of course, we know socialism is against nature and the natural progression of things. Okay, now how would this work under Obamanomics? The hardware store that is failing because of the shortcomings of the management, the government would step in and say, this is not fair, that this business is not able to continue. So what we're going to do, we're going to give them money, whatever they need, so that they can pay their bills, they can stay in business, and we may go so far as to put price control on and to regulate what kind of products that you can sell, so that it would be fair and they would be able to stay in business. And so pretty soon we have a government-controlled market, at least in the hardware stores. And when you get that, you begin to lose the initiative, and people would be closing their business and going somewhere else, to another state possibly, where there was a free market. That's how it works under Obamanomics. The government chooses the winners, who the winners will be, or so they think. You've heard the term crony capitalism. Well, this is what it is. Making sure that your friends, there's a conduit from Washington into their bank accounts to keep them viable, at least in the short term. Now let's look at a real-life example of how Obamanomics work. Okay, we've got General Motors and Chrysler Corporation. There's a reason why these 2 businesses were in big trouble. We've got where we had Ford Motor Company, Toyota, Honda, Nissan that were still able to continue in business. And what was the difference? Well, you have to look at the top management. For some reason, they weren't doing the things that would keep their business profitable and thriving. And so when this happens, there's a place that a company can go to get a little bit of reorganization, a little breathing room. It's called bankruptcy court. And that was the natural progression for General Motors and Chrysler. If Chrysler and General Motors had gone out of business, what would have happened? The market share would have grown for the other auto manufacturers in the United States, and those employees that lost their jobs at Chrysler and General Motors could have gone to those places. But that didn't happen. And you know why? Because of one reason, because of unions, and probably the primary reason because of unions. A huge voting bloc for the Democrats. I don't think Honda is unionized, and they pay an excellent wage, have good benefits, the employees are happy, because it's a free market company. But the unions are big contributors to the Democratic candidates, probably Republicans too, but the voting is Democrat. So the government, Obama, steps in and says, no, we're not going to let you go under. I'm going to handle bankruptcy court out of the White House. And so we're going to decide who runs the company, and then we're going to decide what kind of cars you're going to manufacture, and we're going to give you a huge billions of dollars in bailout to get you back on your feet. In other words, the government is going to invest instead of the private sector invest. The government is the solution. We're going to do the investing. Now, how does it work in a free market? Okay, General Motors would say, hey, we're in trouble, we need some cash, so we're going to offer a new class of stock, and this is going to pay a certain amount of a dividend so often, and you know, the various terms that would make it attractive to an investor. But the investor, being savvy and wanting to put his money where he thinks it will do the most for him, says, no, we're not going to buy any new GM stock. GM knew this because in business, you pretty much know the health of your business, and the savvy investor knows the health of your business. So the private sector, the citizens and other businesses said, no, we don't want GM stock. We don't want to invest in that company because we think it's a loser. And so the government said, well, hey, we're going to run this. We're going to invest. We're going to take your money and we're going to invest it. Money that you don't want to invest, we know better, and so we're going to invest it. And that's exactly what they did. And now I think GM's in the hole to the taxpayer like $18 billion or something like that. That's how Obamanomics work. The government takes control. And as a little addition, we heard the other day where the CEO of General Motors, and this is someone that the administration is probably yahooing and cheering for, said that the tax on a gallon of gasoline needs to go up $1 so that it would encourage people to buy smaller cars. Now, here we've got a CEO of a major corporation in America wanting the government to control our driving habits, wanting the government to control what kind of cars that we drive. Have you ever heard of such a thing? A CEO of a corporation advocating that the government come in and control what we drive and how much we drive, and making these kind of decisions in our personal lives. Well, they probably want to get everybody to where you can't afford gas, so you'll be forced to buy the General Motors Volt, which I understand, since it's its release onto the market has only sold 1,700 vehicles, which pretty much tells you that it's not a runaway bestseller, and people really don't want it, which I think indicates some crony capitalism. GM wants the government to, or at least the CEO of GM wants the government to force people to do things that would help them to sell a few vehicles. So we got the government on one end saying if that would happen, gas is going to be this much so that you can't afford to drive the kind of car you want. And then we got government on the other side saying, okay, you're going to have to go to this company to buy this car, and we've got everything sewn up. We've got you under control. You do what you want us to do. But you know what? Even under Obamanomics, we've still got some other companies that are yet free and that we can patronize and show our support that way. Under Obamanomics also, the government dictates to business, as we illustrated in General Motors' case, dictates other businesses in the free market the terms of the execution of their business practices. Let's take, for example, Boeing. Boeing wants to build a plant in, I think it was South Carolina, to produce a new airliner, and the National Labor Relations Board said, no, you can't do that. You've got to do that in California or in some state where there's a closed shop union structure. Now, who ever heard of such a thing as the government interfering in such a private business decision between a company and a state? I don't think that's consistent with constitutionality, but it is consistent with Obamanomics, because Obamanomics is communism. Pure and simple. Let me know what you think.